All right, welcome to class 2, the art of substitution. All right, tonight we will be covering on the basket breakdown. We're going to continue on that, talking about rule enforcement and the tie-ins with case plays. So we're going to look at some case plays tonight, to try to break everything in. Now, this session is all about structure and flow, not just memorizing rules, but understanding how substitutes fit into timing categories and enforcement. Think of it as the framework that everything else hangs on, right? So this is very important if you really want to understand the substitution rule. Like always, let's go through our opening statement. Can never forget it. Players who practice long hours deserve competent game officials, who have a complete understanding of the letter as well as the spirit and the intent of the rules, and who administer them constantly and fairly. This is what it's all about. That's why we're here, right? To become competent, right? There's many officials that has been enforcing the substitution rule incorrectly because they just didn't take the time to learn it. They just didn't take the time to get it down. So as we go through this, please take notes or ask for the video. This is recorded so that you can go back and listen to this, because we're going to cover a lot of information. All right, the last time I did this, last week, I checked with some feedback that says, man, it was great, but it was a lot of information. And tonight is going to be no different. We're going to cover a lot of information. Now, our tagline is what? Players train hard, officials train harder. All right, this is how we train. We study long hours, right? And this is how we do it. All right, let's go. What we call class 1 recap, what we talked about last week, right? We start by asking what is a rule and what is not a rule, right? This distinction was critical because breaking the huddle with 12 is not a foul. Why? Because it's simply not in the rule book. That's it. And it's just that simple. It isn't in the rule book, and because it's not in the rule book, it's not a foul. This drove home the point that our foundation as officials is the rule book itself. But we didn't just stop there. We also emphasized why the case book matters. Reading the rule book alone isn't enough. The case book teaches us how to think like officials. It gives us the applied judgment. So get a case book. Just don't look in the rule book, but also have a case book as well, because you need it just as much. Then we broke down the penalty notes, which we called the penalty decoders, right? The decoder showed us how Rule 737, how it divided into 3 categories, or 3 baskets. The substitution framework, 3 baskets, became the structure that we carried forward in class. We want to carry it forward tonight, right? So it's 3 baskets that we're going to talk about, and we're going to get some definitions and the baskets today as we go forward. All right, so let's go over the crust of class 2, and is bridging the baskets. Let's look at our objectives today. We're going to re-anchor definitions with the form sub to snap window. All right, so what do we mean by that? We're going to close the phrase today, from sub to snap, and I'm going to clarify that more when we get into it. We're going to break down basket 1. We already talked about it. We're going to look at it again a little bit today, right? In regards to 3 seconds and stuff like that. We're going to do too much talking about it in the sense of like we did last week, but we are going to touch on it again. We're going to talk about enforcement, the basic enforcement, or the basic spot, the previous and succeeding spot. All right, we're going to be bridging the baskets. We're going to look at, can we bridge basket 1 with basket 3? Can we bridge basket 2 with basket 3? Can we bridge basket 1 with basket 2? What ties and what doesn't? And this is how we get into this is how officials get into problems when they try to bridge these baskets together. So we're going to look at, we don't bridge baskets together, but we're going to look at if we try to bridge these baskets together, what would happen? All right. And then we're going to look at simultaneously, the simultaneously principle, snap reveals, and not the snap cause. So fixable but not fixable. We're going to look at the simultaneously rule here as well. All right. Now, this is the substitution window. It stretches from the moment the substitute enters until the snap. All right. Inside this window is two categories. One that cannot be fixed once committed or once done, and the other one that could be fixed if done before the snap. If it's not, it becomes a live ball foul at the snap. The key word is window. Once it closes with the snap, our judgment shifts. So this is the officiating philosophy inside the substitution window. Some fouls give a no leeway or no room. Once committed, you must react immediately, right? So we have and we talked about it last week, right? We talked about the observe react and the observe delay react, right? So the observe and react is a dead ball foul, like 3-second violations, wrong exit or wrong exit, or the yo-yo withdrawal substitution rule. The other situation deserves patience. That's observe delay react side. Subs hustling across, trying to get on the other side of the ball, trying to get off the field, and they don't make it. It becomes a foul at the snap or simultaneously with the snap. The key points here: same substitution window, two types of responses. The skill of an official is knowing when to react and know when to blow the whistle and when not to blow the whistle. Now, again, from sub to snap, this art of substitution window, I want to just drive this in with you guys. This is the timeline view of a substitution snap by snap. The sub, the process, he comes into the game, legally enter the game. Then that triggers what? A replaced player who got 3 seconds to start leaving the field. Don't have to be off in 3 seconds, just have to start leaving in 3 seconds, right? And then we got the count. We're going to recount again. As officials, we're going to count. We're going to make sure that we have enough, less, or more of 11. We're going to check. We're going to communicate. It's crucial right here. We want to make sure we see subbing going on. We got the count. And then we monitor, right? We watch the lingering player. We re-entering issues. Players who sneak toward the sideline without leaving. We're monitoring everyone as we go through this. And this is all happening before the snap. And then the snap. Everything has to be settled before the ball is put into play. If the crew isn't in sync, the play should not happen. The snap should not happen cleanly, right? So we got to be in a sync. We got to be in sync. And that's what it's all about here. And we're going to talk more about that in class 3 when we look at the duties of the official. Now that we looked at the substitution cycle, let's zoom in and anchor the big picture. There are 3 anchors to mastering this officiating substitution. I call it 3 B's, right? Being defined. We have to know who is who. What is the player? What is the substitute? What is a replaced player? And what is a non-player? I'll be honest with you. I didn't really think about it a lot, and sometimes I think I might interchange these words, but these words matter. They matter when we look at the baskets. They matter when we look at enforcement. If you don't know the definitions, then you're going to enforce something incorrectly, right? The next one is baskets. Every substitution foul has to live in the right basket. Dead ball, simultaneous snap, non-player after the snap, putting the fouls in the wrong basket, we have mistakes. That's what mistakes happen, right? The basic spot. Enforcement has to start from the right place. Now, when we look at section 3 out of rule 3, the substitution, there's only 2 basic spots. That is the previous spot and the succeeding spot. However, next week, when we get in talking about the legal participation, how these fouls morphs into 15-yard penalties. Now we get into all 7 basic spots, right? It could be any of the basic spots, not just the succeeding spot or the previous spot. But in this section, in Rule 3, Section 7, it's only 2 basic spots that we have to concern ourselves when dealing with the substitution rules. All right, so let's dive into being defined. Let's go ahead and redefine. If you just in case you forgot, and we're going to dive into it later, let's get into this. A player is a team member who is legally on the field and not a substitute, replaced player, or non-player. Listen, there only can be 11 players. That's it. It can't be 12. 12 on the field is not 12 players on the field. It's 11 players on the field and 1 non-player on the field. All right? Everybody's team members. There's 11. It might be 12 team members on the field. But always remember, at any given time, there only can be 11 players. It can never be 12 or 13. All right? Anything over 11, they are considered non-players. Players remain a player until he become a replaced player by a substitute, even if he step out of bounds, unless he replaced for his status. So if he step out of bounds, he's still a player. If he goes to his team box, he's still a player. As long as nobody filling that vacancy or somebody replaced him, he always remain a player no matter where he's at in the stadium. A substitute is not a player until he commits one of the required acts, right? He has to communicate. He has to communicate to an official, or he has to get into formation, right? Now, that means a substitute are not under encroachment restrictions while crossing the neutral zone. This is where younger officials make the mistakes, right? They treat subs like players too early. Now, what is a replaced player? A replaced player is a player who has been notified, communicated by a substitute that he has to go. I'm taking your spot. All right, now he has 3 seconds to start leaving the field and head directly to his team box. If he fails, that's basket 1, a dead ball, substitution, foul. Now, a non-player. A non-player is anyone that legally participates, not legally participate. I'm sorry, to go back. A non-player is anyone who does not participate at the time of the down. That could be a 2 before he became a player, or a replaced player after he's out, or anyone on the sideline. Article 6, which we are covering tonight, will take us into non-player fouls after the snap. Now, we're gonna do a basket breakdown, okay? 3 baskets hold every substitution foul: dead ball, live ball, and non-player. If you know which basket it falls in, you know the penalty enforcement. And again, this all about, at the end of the day, it's all about knowing how to enforce the fouls. This is our timing progression slide. Think of substitution fouls in terms of when they occur. Before the snap, if a replaced player leaves and properly, that's a dead ball foul. At the snap, if someone hasn't quite cleared the field or gotten to the other side of the ball, that's a live ball simultaneous with the snap. And after the snap, any entry is treated as a non-player foul. The phrase I want to hold onto is this: before the snap, dead ball. At the snap, simultaneously. After the snap, non-player. Timing is the decoder that places the foul into the right basket and tells us instantly where enforcement will be from. All right? So, basket 1 is before the snap. Basket 2, at the snap. And basket 3, after the snap. Now, we begin the basket breakdown. Every substitution foul in the rule book will fall into one of these three baskets. Basket 1 holds dead ball fouls. Basket 2 hold live ball fouls and simultaneous snap. Basket 3 hold non-player fouls. Once we know which basket foul belongs in, you instantly know which one to enforce, right? It is our network. If you put the substitution fouls in the wrong basket, you risk enforcing a succeeding spot foul like a previous spot foul or vice versa. And it's exactly what people try to get me to do. And that's why we have in these classes. We want to make sure everybody understand these substitution fouls. Now, basket 1, dead ball foul substitution. The key marker here is a replaced player who fails to exit properly. This is where 1 of 3 seconds rule lives. Got to be out within 3. You got to start heading out within 3 seconds. If he does not start leaving within that window, we shut it down immediately. These are not let it go play situations. It's a dead ball foul. We do signal 7, enforce with a 5-yard penalty, and move on, right? Signal 22, 5-yard penalty, and move on. Now, basket 2 is a little trickier, right? The fouls are different because they should have been fixed before the snap, but they wasn't, right? They linger into the snap. That's why we call them live ball simultaneously with the snap. The snap doesn't cause the foul. It just reveals the foul. That is an important difference. You let the play begin, and then you flag it. Encroachment is always from the previous spot. And when we look at how, when people try to bridge basket 2 with basket 3, this is where we get in a lot of problem with the veterans. Now, before we move into the basket 3, we need to stop and talk about enforcement. Everything in this section comes down to what penalties are marked from. There are 2 main encroachment enforcement spots we use as officials. Previous spot and succeeding spot. Knowing the difference is the 2 and crucial because the basket is tied in to one of the 2. So previous spot is defined as what? The last we snap the ball from. This is where we snap the ball from. This is the previous spot, right? It's for all live balls simultaneously with the spot fouls. Then we got succeeding spot. This is defined as where the ball would be snapped from if there was not a foul, right? So let's say we had a foul. We're going to pretend like we didn't have a foul. This is where the ball would have been snapped from. That's what we penalize the foul from. Now, basket 1 and basket 3 falls in this basket. Basket 2 fall in previous spot. Basket 1 and 3 fall in the succeeding spot. Very important to know. Now it brings us to basket 3, non-player fouls. These fouls don't behave like others. They can happen before the snap and be dead ball fouls, or after the snap and be live ball fouls. And no matter when they occur, they always enforce from the succeeding spot. Remember, a non-player is anyone not legally in the game. That could be a coach, trainer, substitute. It doesn't matter, but yet here we're just honing in on players only, or team members only. Let me correct myself. Team members only. Once they define as a non-player, they go into basket 3. Now, look at the football fundamentals. Penalties, enforcement for any dead ball, non-player, or unsportsmanlike foul from the succeeding spot unless the foul occurs on a scoring play and the scoring team get to choose enforcement on the kickoff or the extra point. Unlike sportsmanlike, there's a special signal for non-player fouls, right? So let's go on. So now we get into basket 3, all right? During it down, a replaced player or substitute who enters the field does not participate constitute illegal substitution by Rule 3.7, all right? Now, we read the case book last week. If a replaced player or substitute enters the field during the down, but does not participate, which is a very key factor, because we're going to look at if he did participate, that's beyond the basket, which is next week. It is a foul for illegal substitution by a non-player, a 5-yard penalty from the succeeding spot. Again, from the succeeding spot. Now, believe it or not, I went through the case book and there is no case plays regard to this type of scenario. Why? It's very simple. Anybody come on the field after the play, after the snap, is a non-player, right? So I did find this in the NFHS case book, right? At first glance, man, it's overly redundant. Look at it. It says non-player enters the game, 376, 5-yard penalty, succeeding spot. Substitute enters the game, 376, 5 yards, succeeding spot. Then it go player re-enters during the down after being on the field of play for the previous down and then leaving the field, 373, a different one, 5-yard non-player foul. Then we go into the last one, player who should be on the field of play enters during 11 or fewer players. Now, overly redundant, right? And I had a hard time with this graph, because I'm like, I don't, why you keep saying the same thing? Then I get it. What we're missing out of this is this, during the down, right? It don't make a difference if you're a substitute, replace player, a non-player. You can be whoever you want. Them labels don't matter. If you enter the field during the down, you are a non-player. It's a non-player foul. That's all we have to remember, right? No matter what your role is, you come on the field after the down and started, you're a non-player. You could be a player. You could be 10 players on the field. You could have went off and got some water. I'm just talking wildly here. You're a player. You went up the sideline. You get some water. 10 players on the field on your defense. Snap the ball. You're still a player. But once that ball has been snapped, now you're a non-player and you cannot step on that field until the play has ended. All right? So that's the difference. So although the chart, to me, seemed very redundant, I had to come to terms with it doesn't. What it's just trying to say is, no matter what your label is, no matter what you call yourself, if you come on the field during the down, you're a non-player. It's a 5-year penalty from the succeeding spot as long as you don't participate. Now, why you need a case play for that? Very simple. Now, we're going to get into bridging the baskets, right? This is where we're going to try to connect the baskets and overlap them. This is where officials sometimes blur lines. The goal is to understand symmetry and the differences between basket 1 and basket 2, basket 1 and basket 3, and basket 2 and basket 3, right? This is the bridging the basket section. All right, think of it as our roadmap. Bridging doesn't mean they're the same. It just means they touch. Some fouls share timing, other enforcement concepts. The confusion comes in when we try to actually put them all together. So we're going to look at case plays. We're going to look at some things and see if we can try to figure this out and prevent officials in the future from trying to bridge these baskets together. Basket 1, so we're going to look at basket 1 with a similarity to basket 3, right? And that's it means little similarity, not too much, and we'll talk about how they meet, right? So basket 1 is dead ball foul, right? Basket 3 is a live ball foul of a non-player stepping on the field. The symmetry here is that they both, the dead ball and the live ball, are all enforced from the same spot, the succeeding spot, right? So this is where they link together. So we're going to read a case play, and we're going to read it in its entirety. and then we're going to jump back and see how basket 1 and basket 3 connects, and pull out some other tidbits out of this as well. All right. So situation B. It is a 1st and 10 on B's 12-yard line, and substitute B12 comes on the field to replace B2 and communicates with him prior to the ball becoming live. B. Now we skipped out A because A was legal. We want to find everything that's illegal, and that's why we're skipping A. B. B12, seeing that he will be unable to replace B2 before the ball is snapped, returns to his team box, or B2, seeing that he will not be able to reach the sideline before the ball is snapped, leaves the field through the end zone and remains to observe the play, or D, B12 becomes confused and withdraws through the end line, across the end line, and goes around the field to return to his team box. Now, the ruling in B, C, and D is a non-player foul for illegal substitution. All right? Replace player or substitute is required to go directly to his team box. A substitute may not enter and withdraw in the same dead ball period. Now, when I read this doing research, getting ready for this class, I saw it says non-player foul. And it kind of threw me because the only thing I thought about non-player fouls was when we're talking about basket 3, which talks about a non-player foul. But these are actually dead ball non-player fouls. So it shows us that even though basket 1 distinguished that these are dead ball fouls, it also distinguishes that they're not just only dead ball fouls, they're non-player dead ball fouls. And in basket 3, talks about a live ball non-player foul, because they're all enforced from the same succeeding spot. Kind of, not so. We'll talk about it. Now, let's look at the yo-yo substitution. We're going to break it down. In 373, you read that B12, seeing that he will be unable to replace B2 before the snap, return to his team box. Now, we know Article 3 that this is a dead ball foul. Now, as a dead ball foul, because B12 communicated. Remember, a sub remains a sub until he communicates with a referee or communicates with a team member. Remember, we talked about last week, this prevents the loophole of a sub messenger, right? Where a sub comes in just to give out a play or a message to the players and then leave the field, right? This is to prevent that. If you come on the field and you communicate, you have to stay. And somebody else have to go. Unless field, then everybody gets to stay. But this is what to prevent that, okay? So if a player comes on, and again, this is, remember, from sub to snap, you see the sub come on. The sub communicate with you, communicate with a player, then that sub leaves the field, we have a dead ball illegal substitution foul because he cannot come on the field, communicate, and then go back off the field. Unless a dead ball foul happens, a penalty is accepted in a period, that stuff like that, or target timeout. Now, C. Again, Article 2, you must go directly to your team box. So a player who leaves the field and don't make it back to the team box, the 25 to the 25-yard line, if that player stops and watch the play, that's a dead ball foul. Can't stop. Got to keep going. Again, from the window, sub to snap window, as an official, you should be monitoring that replaced player leaving the field and making sure that replaced player is heading to their team box. B12 confused, withdraws in line, and goes around his team box. Now, this is interesting. I just noticed this today as I was preparing for my class. So I had to make some quick notes, some quick changes. There are two violations here. One, a substitute cannot become a player and then leave. And then two, no one can cross the end line. You can cross the sideline of the end zone because it goes from end line to end line, but you can't cross through the end line where the goalpost is located, right? That is a dead ball foul. So in essence, there are two fouls here. I just noticed it. So the visual, you cross the end line, dead ball foul. So technically, you could enforce both, which would mean a 10-yard penalty, because Rule 10 tells us that we do not combine dead ball fouls or non-player fouls to make a double foul. So in essence, they fouls here, two and trying to leave the field. Now, as officials, we don't like to enforce that. We're very reluctant. We probably call one for game management, just letting you know that, hey, this is actually two fouls, two non-player fouls that this person committed. Now, let's talk about how something goes from a dead ball to a live ball, right? How can we jump baskets? How can we go from basket 1 to basket 3? Now, they both enforce from the succeeding spot, but the succeeding spot is different. Now, again, going back to sub to snap window, right? Part of the window is not just counting and watching substitutes, but it's monitoring replace players, like I said before. Now, if you're there and you see a player that replacement came off the field and standing there, as an official, you should use preventive. Hey, get back to your team box. That will prevent you from calling dead ball foul or just not observing altogether. But what if we as officials to realize that he did not go back to his team box, but we only realize it after the ball has been snapped, right? So by the dead ball fouls always take precedence. If we observe it, we shut it down. We're required to shut it down, right? If we tell him to go back to his team box and he doesn't move, we should shut it down, dead ball foul. If we don't detect it until the snap, and now we throw a flag, it now becomes a live ball, non-player foul. You can't call it dead ball because the ball's already been snapped. So now, what does that mean? Same 5-yard penalty, but enforced differently. One is enforced from the previous spot, which was the spot. The succeeding spot becomes the previous spot once the ball is snapped, right? But the succeeding spot can be a tack on if it's a live ball. Either we're going to tack it on from the dead ball spot before the snap, or it's going to become a tack on because we didn't notice it or recognize it. That non-player did not go back to their team box until after the snap, right? So it's very important to know what we're doing when we're out there. So again, let's look at it. A great little infograph, all right? How it shifts from dead ball to live ball, right? Again, either we're going to enforce from the dead ball succeeding spot or we're going to enforce from the next succeeding spot. Where the play ends, that's where we're going to enforce it. But it's all about us, right? Did we recognize that player, that replaced player who left the field? And did we tell that player to get by, or did we shut it down? Because think about it. What if it can make a bigger difference? Let's say it's third down, and they got 8 yards for a first down, and they only got 3 yards on that play. Well, guess what? Because it became a live ball foul, it's a tack on, and it gives them an extra 5 for that first down. Or if we shut it down, it'd be 5-yard penalty, and at 3 yards, they got the gain for their first. But it's based on when we recognize it and when we call it, right? So we can aid in a team getting the first down, or we can just kill it and then give the defending team their dues, but not extra because we failed to do our responsibility. So let's get all highlighted. As you see here, all of these are non-player fouls, but they are dead ball non-player fouls, except for one. Failed to go direct to box, and we did not catch it in time. It becomes a live ball foul. All right. So it's very important that we know this is the between first basket 1 and basket 3. The biggest takeaway from this is they only link the seating spot once next to seating spot, right? If that makes sense. All right, so let's get into we're gonna try to merge basket 2 and 3 together. All right, we're gonna try to tie these in together. This is where veteran officials get in trouble, because either again they don't recognize different baskets, and they don't understand the difference between a simultaneously with the snap and a non-player enforcement. All right, because remember, basket 2 is a simultaneously with the snap foul. And by Rule 10 says that all simultaneously with the snap fouls must be enforced from the previous spot, not from the seating spot. This is not a non-player foul. This is a live ball simultaneously with the snap foul. All right. And again, this is where I see a lot of officials get in trouble. I had an official I was working with a few weeks ago. They were there trying to get off the field. Did not get off the field in time. We threw the flag. He was trying to tell me that we should enforce it from the succeeding spot. I'm like, no, it's a foul that happened from the snap. It should be the previous spot, all right? He tried to explain to me, well, we looked it up in the rule book, and it says that it should be from the succeeding spot. I'm like, I don't know what rule book you read, but you definitely read it incorrectly. And that's the issue, because a lot of officials, I've seen it in playoff games where a 7-man crew, supposed to be top-notch officials, supposed to know the rules, they did enforce a simultaneously with a snap foul. The player didn't get off the field in time. They added to the end of the run, the next succeeding spot, versus taking it back to the previous succeeding spot, which is the previous spot, right? Got to know. If you don't know, this is how you get in trouble. So remember, you cannot connect 2 and 3 together. Just can't work. Does not work. Right? Basket 2, simultaneous snap triggers. Replace player failed to leave the field in time before the snap. Or substitute didn't get to the other side of the neutral zone before the snap. All these are classified as live ball fouls. Observe, delay, react. Right? But Rule 10, basic spot is always the previous spot. Always. Now, the only minor bridge, they both live ball fouls, right? But one from the previous spot and one from the succeeding spot, so they both happen when they're live. But basket 3, it's triggered by a plus of 10, doing it down. So that's the big difference. And we got to get that. Got that into the snap is enforced from the previous spot. It's not a tack on. We don't add it to the end of the run. We go back. So a team can decline it or accept it, depending what advantage they give them, right? So if they get 10 yards, they're going to decline it, because why you want to go back and get 5 yards? But let's say they got just 5 yards, and it's second down. They might want to take it and go back 5 yards with first down. Or they got less than 5 yards. They might want to take it and replay first down. But understand, when we don't bridge these two baskets together, basket 2, previous spot, basket 3, succeeding spot. Now, let's look at basket 1 and 2. This where I've seen newer officials make mistakes. This is where newer officials, because the thing about this one is you got 12 on the field in either scenario, all right? And so when you got 12 on the field in either scenario, it's like you're supposed to kill it, right? For example, basket one, you got 12 players, you got 11 players and one replaced player. Replaced player doesn't leave the field. It's a dead ball foul. But now you got a substitute. You got a replaced player now leaving the field, and the ball is snapped before he gets off the field. That changes everything. One replaced player is not trying to leave within 3 seconds. The other one, the replaced player, is leaving. Either or, the ball is snapped, and we got 12 players on the field. However, by rule, it is totally, completely different. If you got 12 players, 11 players and one non-player on the field, and they're not trying to leave within 3 seconds, dead ball foul, right? They break the huddle and then left in 3 seconds, dead ball foul. However, if he's leaving and the ball is snapped, it's a live ball foul. And when we look at simultaneous snap, and we're going to talk about a little bit more here at the end of this class today, we'll jump on that some more. That's the difference. And for new officials, they do a dead ball foul. For example, this year, early in the season, I worked with a new official, and there was a Team B player trying to get to his side of the neutral zone. So when the ball was snapped, he was on the offensive side of the ball. The official blew the whistle. And I'm like, wait, blew the whistle. He said, got 12 on the field. Or he didn't make it to his other side of the neutral zone. So he killed the play. Well, I didn't discuss logistics and rules. We enforced it. But the thing is, it's a dead ball foul to be on the offensive side as a defensive substitute. It's a live ball foul. If the player don't participate, it's only 5 yards. If he participates or interferes, it becomes a 15-yard penalty, which we're going to get this week. But now, in either case, we do not kill it because it could have been fixed, right? You got to, what's out of. If he would have got off the field before the snap, would have been a foul? No. It's a live ball foul. If he would have got to his side of the neutral zone before the ball was snapped, would have been a foul? No. It's a live ball foul. It's a foul simultaneously with the snap. There's such thing when a replaced player come on the field, a substitute come on the field, and a replaced player doesn't leave or don't try to leave. Now that's a dead ball foul. All right? Know the difference. Can't bridge these two together. So we can't take a basket and turn it into a dead ball foul. And we can't take a basket one and turn it into a live ball foul. Don't match. So don't be confused. All right? So replaced player doesn't leave with 3 seconds, subs, enters, and withdraws in the same dead ball period, exit, in line, end zone, to the end line, our opponent's sideline, all dead. Players at the snap feels like basket one, but by rule, it lives in basket two. Simultaneous with the snap, right? Article 4 and 5. Replaced player still on the field at the snap, sub didn't make it to the neutral zone before the snap. Officials often get confused. They think it's encroachment. But remember, a sub is not under encroachment restrictions while he's a substitute. Only when he becomes a player does that restriction apply. So don't mix sub and player definitions. All right? Don't mix them. A player remains a player until replaced by a sub. A sub remains a sub until it becomes a player. Right? So he's on the neutral zone. There's no neutral zone infractions, no encroachment. We don't kill it just because the sub is on the side of the offense. Remember I told you before last week that majority of the time these fouls will be on the defense because the offense controls the snap. Not saying it can't be on the offense, but majority of the time on defense, right? Because you can't see a quarterback snapping the ball when a replaced player takes off the field. You can't see that a quarterback's asking for the snap when one of his players trying to get to his side of the neutral zone. Right? They're definitely gonna call a timeout. They don't want to get a delay of game. If they got time, they're gonna wait till you get set, and then they're gonna snap the ball. Defense, they're gonna be like, offense don't gotta worry on defense. They're gonna snap the ball while the replacement player trying to get off, or the sub trying to get to the side of the neutral zone, and now we have a live ball situation. So, why simultaneous snap matters? It means snap reveal. All right. In other words, it doesn't become a foul until the ball is snapped. Just remember that. If it can be fixed before the snap, it's a live ball foul. Simultaneous with the snap. All right. So that is probably going to be it. And I did not add my recap notes to this. I rushed. So let me grab my tablet and let me read what we learned today. I did not have time to. Okay. So we broke down substitution rule 3 baskets, right? Basket 1 before the snap, basket 2 at the snap, basket 3 after snap. All right, we reinforced basket 1 is a dead ball foul, basket 2 is a live ball foul simultaneous with the snap, and basket 3 is a non-player after the snap. All right, we stress the difference between previous spot and succeeding spot. They're different. Gotta know the difference. Gotta know how they're enforced. All right, we look at the case plays, we try to tie in some things together. We realize that a lot of these baskets don't tie in together, right? Just don't tie in to each other. And the biggest takeaway is misplacing the foul in the wrong basket changes the penalty enforcement. And guess what? I'm done. You can unmute yourself.